here. I'm the one waving both hands over towards the left-hand side of the pool. We're joined by several other trainers and, of course, our entire killer whale family. Before we really get started today, we want to make sure that you guys know you're seated in a 24-hour splash zone. It's not our intention to get you at any point during this interaction, but just be aware that while we're interacting with the whales, sometimes there is some salt water that comes our way. It actually mostly ends up going over the wall and underneath the glass you guys are sitting next to, so underneath that glass, which means that if you have any bags, backpacks, purses that are sitting on the floor, my suggestion would be to pick them up and just put them on a seat or a table next to you guys. Now we have 5 killer whales here at Shamu Stadium. We're going to spend the most time with our girls. But really quick, I want to introduce you to our boys too. They're all the way down here on the right-hand side. Makaio is on our far right. He's our little kiddo. He just turned 9 in October. And then Trua right here that I'm pointing next to. Trua is 14 years old today. November 23rd is his birthday. So he was born right here with us at SeaWorld Orlando back in 2005. And like I said, we're celebrating his birthday today. He just had a big birthday party in our 1231 Ocean Show. And he's going to be a really big boy. He's actually continuing to grow. Even though he's 14 years old, that sounds like he might be an adult, but he actually has about 4 to 6 more years of growing. Killer whales usually top out around 18 to 20 years old, and as an adult male, he'll weigh between 10 and 12,000 pounds, so he might even double in size. Our entire killer whale family is going to be doing a jump for you guys in the middle of the pool. We call this a belly breach. Now, killer whales might breach for a variety of reasons. Just think that they could be using breaching to talk to each other across long distances. Sorry, my microphone keeps cutting in and out on you guys. But they could be using it to communicate across long distances. So what that means is that when they're breaching, they're coming down the surface tension of the water, they're creating a vibrative sound. And that vibration can be picked up by animals from several feet away. In the wild, it's actually a very murky environment, so they might not be able to see each other, but they can hear each other well. The scientists also think that they might use surface tension to scratch and itch. Just like you and I get itchy every once in a while, we can use our hands, reach around and actually scratch our sides. Killer whales don't have hands to do that, so they could actually use the surface tension of the water to scratch and itch on their side. Or they could be breaching just to play. That happens too. So lots of different reasons that you might see killer whales breaching. We're also going to introduce you to our 3 girls, because our boys are doing a really important behavior right now called shifting. Shifting is basically just means that they're going from one environment to another. There's actually 7 pools here at Shamu Stadium for the animals to go in and out of. So right now we ask the boys to head into a different area right now. And we're going to hang out mostly with our 3 girls. So Malia just did that really beautiful, what we call spin bow in the middle of the pool. She's interacting with my friend Lisa over here. She's the youngest female that we have. She is 12 years old. She'll be turning 13 in March. And then Nalani's going to do my favorite behavior in the middle of the pool. So keep your eye toward the middle of the pool there for Miss Nalani.
We're going to crash if you keep looking that way.
That front flip behavior is one of my very, very favorites. Like I said, Nalani's 13 years old. She's actually the daughter of Katina. Katina is the oldest member of our Shamu family. She's mostly hanging out with Justin this afternoon. We'll point her out to you when we get the chance. She is 43 years old, the oldest member of our Shamu family. She's also our matriarch, which means that she's in charge of all of the other animals here at SeaWorld Orlando. So killer whales live in a matriarchal society. We talked about the fact that Trua will at some point be between 10 and 12,000 pounds, which is about double the size of Katina. Katina is about 5,500 pounds. But even when Trua is much larger than her, she will still rule the pool because it is a female-driven society, as it should be. So she's all the way over here on the left-hand side, hanging out with Justin today. And she's a really important killer whale, not just to us here at SeaWorld, but actually to the entire scientific community that studies killer whales. There she is waving at you guys down there. The reason for that is because before we started caring for killer whales and studying killer whales here at SeaWorld, there was a lot of questions that scientists and researchers had about these animals that they couldn't answer. One of them, for example, was how long are killer whales pregnant? That was a really good question. Scientists used to guess about 12 months, and that's a good guess because they are related to bottlenose dolphins, and we knew at the time that bottlenose dolphins were pregnant for 12 months. But killer whales are actually pregnant for about 18 months. And Katina was one of the killer whales that helped us discover that. So anytime someone asks us questions about how long they're pregnant for, or how they nurse their calves, or how big killer whale calves are when they're born. We actually participated in research, and Katina was one of the animals that helped us to make all of those scientific discoveries, which I think is super cool. Now we're doing a couple of different things during this session. Our Dine with Shamu or Dine with Whales is actually always just a little bit different. We never do the same session twice. So you guys happen to be here on kind of a cool day. We're going to do a couple of husbandry behaviors. And husbandry is a fancy word, but basically what it means is the science of caring for animals. Really quick splash warning towards the middle of the pool here with Nalani. And she actually had Jello in her mouth, which is really cute. She had Jello in her mouth there. But Jello is actually just for fun most of the time for the animals, so some of them really enjoy it. Some of them could take or leave it. They're all different just like we are, but positive reinforcement means every time an animal does something awesome, they get something awesome that they like. And for some of those animals, like I said, it means Jello. Now, husbandry, like we were talking about earlier, is kind of a fancy word, but all it means is the health care of an animal or the science of taking care of an animal. So the killer whales here at SeaWorld actually learn a lot of different behaviors that help us take care of them. Even some of the higher energy behaviors that you guys see, like bows, is what Stacy just asked Nalani to do with her Jello. We'll see if she keeps her Jello with her. But even some of our higher energy behaviors would kind of be considered husbandry, and the reason for that is because killer whales are athletes out in the ocean, and we want to make sure they're athletic and healthy and fit here too. So exercise behaviors that are aerial behaviors where they're using lots of muscle and power, kind of like a cardio exercise. This behavior that you guys are looking at with Malia right here with Lisa, this is actually a really good husbandry behavior where she rolled over and she presented her stomach to the surface of the water. She also brought her tail in really close to the side of the pool. Now the reason that that's important is because it's the same behavior that you and I do when we go to the doctor's office and our doctor asks us for a blood sample. You would hold out your hand and expose the inside of your elbow because the most prominent vein that you have as a human being actually runs along the inside of your elbow there. So that's one of the ways that we help take care of the animals on a regular basis. Here comes Miss Katina towards the middle of the pool.
So cute.
Some of the other husbandry behaviors that the animals know, they know how to slide up on a scale. Malia is kind of showing off the behavior over here toward the right-hand side. If we were asking for this same behavior but asking for it across the way on that silver platform, we could actually take a digital readout of how much the animal weighs. We want to make sure, of course, that animals like Nalani, Malia, Trua, Makaio, who are still growing, that they're growing at a healthy rate. We also want to make sure animals like Katina, who are already mature, that they're maintaining a healthy weight as well. So it looks like Malia is going to demonstrate that behavior for you guys as Katina jumps in the middle of the pool. So there's Miss Katina, and if you look past where Katina just jumped, Malia is actually slid up on that killer whale size scale. And she's holding her tail up nice and high for us. Even though it looks like that's a presentation behavior with their tail up in the air like that, you might actually see that in some of our shows later today. Like I was saying earlier, almost all of the behaviors that the animals know have an alternate benefit too, where it's not just about being a part of a show or a presentation, it's also about helping us take care of them. Shows are a very small portion of what we do. Even if you take today as an example, we have 4 shows overall, but they're only 20 minutes long each, which means that only 80 minutes of our day is going to be devoted to shows. All the rest of our time is devoted to other things like playtimes, relationship sessions, and even some of those husbandry or healthcare sessions that we were talking about as well. There's another husbandry behavior going on across the way. If you look at that big SeaWorld sign, like we were saying earlier, Katina is 43 years old. Right now she's actually getting eye drops that are prescribed by her veterinarian to make sure that her eyes are nice and healthy. Just like other animals and even us as we age, our eyesight sometimes struggles. It can sometimes be the same with whales or dolphins. So we're asking Katina to allow us to put eye drops in her eye, and you can see that she's actually voluntarily putting her eye at the surface of the water, so we can just put a couple little eye drops in there, make sure that her eyes are nice and healthy. A couple of the other husbandry or health behaviors of the animals know, things like things like x-rays, ultrasounds. We can even ask for a voluntary urine sample. Yeah, we do teach the killer whales to pee in a cup. And that sounds really strange, but like we were talking about earlier, how Katina helped us discover how long killer whales were pregnant. One of the ways that she helped us do that was by understanding how to do ultrasounds with our veterinarians and also understanding how to pee in a cup every single day. So we're actually going to demonstrate for you across the way that behavior. She just got a urine cup, or what we call a urine cup. It's an empty sample cup. I present it to Nalani so that she can see it. We're going to ask her to slide up on her side. And hopefully she'll pee right in that cup for us toward the end. And then when Stacy's done, she'll show it to us. It's hard to see from there, but there's definitely urine inside there. You can give her a round of applause. She did a good job. Now that behavior, a lot of people will start to ask, well, okay, that's really cool. We've seen a lot of really awesome behaviors today. How long does it take to train an animal? And it totally depends on the individual animal. So sometimes a behavior like that, like a urine sample, it might take 2 years for an animal to learn that one. For Nalani, it took her about 2 years to learn it, but it could also, for the next animal, take only 6 months. Sometimes there are behaviors that take 2 days to learn, and the next whale, it takes that whale 7 months to learn it. There's all sorts of different answers to that question because a lot of it depends on the individual animal. Now, whether we're training a jump or we're training a healthcare or husbandry behavior like that urine sample that you guys just saw, it's all trained the same way. Whenever an animal does something awesome, they get something awesome. Now, when we first start training, the very first behavior that the animals learn, the very first behavior that the animals learn is just to touch their nose or their rostrum to the palm of our hand. And then as we move our hands around, it becomes an elaborate game of no matter how the human's hands are moving, if I copy the human's hands or I do what the human's hands are asking, then I'm going to get some type of reward. And like we were talking about earlier, rewards are very different depending on the animal. Looks like Katina's going to do that urine sample again. Like I said, we actually do this every day with all of our female killer whales. So Nalani did hers already. We're going to ask Katina to do her urine sample as well. And once again, this is just to monitor their hormone health and their reproductive health. Make sure all of our females are nice and healthy. Exact same signal from Justin over there. And then she pees right in that little cup. And if you listen, you can also hear Justin blow that whistle, which tells Katina that was awesome, good girl. Killer whales do have very good hearing. They just don't hear the exact same way that you and I do. So even though I'm on microphone right now, they probably can't hear my voice all that well. It's kind of like I'm Charlie Brown's teacher. I'm going to say wah, 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 wah. I'm very muffled and very low for their hearing range. But they do hear high pitches very well instead. And those high pitches come from our whistle. Like I said, it means good boy or good girl. And then we can back that praise up with something else. So we can give them ice, we can give them jello, toys, back rubs, belly scratches, fish. It totally depends on what that particular animal enjoys. Now speaking of their fish, they do eat restaurant quality fish every single day. They can eat quite a bit of it as well. Of these three, actually Malia is the one who eats the most. All of the diets are actually individually and individually made, instructed by our veterinary staff. So Malia right now eats 115 pounds of food every day. Herring, capelin, and also salmon. And once again, restaurant quality seafood. And for Malia, that ends up being right around 90,000 calories every single day. So it's a lot. She eats a lot of food. And she'll actually continue to eat a bunch as she continues to grow. She also just did that urine sample across the way. But eventually it'll be Trua, our birthday boy, who eats the most. Male killer whales, by the time they're done growing, usually eat around 200 pounds of food every day. Here's Miss Katina over here for you guys. And when you guys get an up-close view of her, if you happen to snap a picture, you might notice when you look at those photos later, that she actually has a white spot on her nose. A lot of people will ask us, like, how do you tell all the killer whales apart? And that's always a great question. They all look a little bit different. I know that sounds crazy if you're just looking at them for the very first time, but they have something about them that looks different. And they do have fingerprints, quote unquote. Their dorsal fin is a fingerprint, so whether it bends, if it has a nick or a notch, or if it stands straight up and down, all of that is individual to a specific animal. So it looks like Katina's going to show off her fingerprint, that dorsal fin that we were talking about. And they all have different facial features as well. Now we've talked a lot about a lot of different things here with our Dine with Bamboo program. We want to thank you guys so much for joining us. If you guys have any questions, I'll be walking around. You're welcome to ask if you've got anything else on your mind. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed learning more about killer whales and helping us do what we love, which is celebrate and care for animals around the world. On behalf of all of us here at Shamu Stadium, we hope you have a great day right here at SeaWorld. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we hope you've enjoyed Dine with Killer Whales. On behalf of the trainers, our culinary crew, and our killer whales, have a great day at SeaWorld. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah, I'm always going to call this kid. I don't care what anyone says.